Dr. Scrape here, your car protection specialist here at SLiPLO. Today I'm going to walk you through a SLiPLO install on this beautiful brand new Tesla Model 3. So now that we got the car on the lift, our first step is to actually start prepping the car and cleaning the vehicle. What I suggest is using a microfiber and 70% isopropylene alcohol. Do a little bit like this, or you could spray it on, it's up to you. And go ahead and give it a nice cleaning. Usually new cars, that's all they require. They don't need anything more than this. So this specific vehicle has a clear bar installed on it, and we're gonna go ahead and apply on top of it. It's actually Stealth Expel clear bar that's on here. And we're gonna go ahead and install over the existing clear bar. So we get this a lot, and that's a common question for our installers is, do I install the clear bar or do I install the SLiPLO first and do the clear bar? I highly suggest installing over the clear bar, but you could go both ways. You could, if you do end up installing the SLiPLO first, you would have to actually trim the clear bar where the SLiPLO starts. So that's one thing. With installing the clear bar first and putting SLiPLO over it, you do not have to do any trimming or any kind of cutting, which looks cleaner to me. And at the same time, you're protecting the clear bar from any scrapes or scuffs that comes from steep driveways. Our second step in the process would be to find our center point of the vehicle. A lot of the vehicles actually have a center point, and on this car, you could kind of see this is the middle of the car. But to be exact, you could always use the following technique, which is you're gonna require a Taylor's measuring tape and a couple of pieces of masking tape. And what we're gonna do is, we could start on this side and put the tape right to the edge of the bumper where it starts here by the wheel well. Tape it like that. And pull this baby all the way, like so. And we could tape the exact opposite side, and we're at 83¼ And then I'm gonna use another tape to mark my center point. 1 point. So it should be right there, which actually lines up with that point exactly. Perfect. And that's going to be, this side of the tape is my actual center point. You could also use a grease pen or something like this to mark the vehicle instead of using a tape. I find that's easy, and that's the way I do it. Our third step in the installation process is going to be doing the adhesive promoter. I highly recommend, I don't always use a promoter on most of the vehicles, but on cars where you have this little round thing happening on the bottom, like the Teslas, both Model S and Model 3, you're gonna require, I highly recommend using Pro Bond adhesive promoter and prepping it. The good thing with the Pro Bond over the 3M is it dries really fast. It's not as messy as the 3M promoter, and I've noticed it adheres to this much better. Even though it's a 3M adhesive, double-sided adhesive, it adheres to the Pro Bond really, really well, especially when you go over the clear bar. So I highly suggest using this. What you're gonna do is take your little applicator. You can get these off Amazon. Again, if you go to the dealer section of your website, you will find the links to both this, and they're both available off of Amazon. Go ahead and apply some of that to your brush. And start from your center and do your promoter. Nice and easy. Glove comes in handy here because you do get some of that promoter running down onto your hands. So, and the stuff is pretty strong, so I highly suggest using a latex glove or a nitrile glove for protection. Now we're moving on to step 4, which is to actually put our first SLiPLO piece onto the vehicle without applying it and seeing how it's gonna fit. I've done this car plenty of times here, so I know the technique that's gonna go into it, and that's why I'm making a specific video for the Model 3, so you as an installer know exactly how to install it with the least amount of issues and problems. And this technique has worked really well for us, and I know it's customers actually love the end product and how it looks and how it protects their car. So what I suggest, before when I started, I used to install like that, where this back line actually lined up with the back line over here. But I've noticed, if you notice, there's a lot of play there. Like, so if I go like this, the front pops up because of the curvature of the rear, of the front bumper. We've noticed that we'd run into some issues when we do that, where after a while, this front will pop back up. So I highly suggest pulling this back a 1/4 inch past where the front bumper actually meets the black lining. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna pull it back and it sits pretty tight and it's pretty flush. And we're gonna actually cut about a 1/4 inch of every piece moving forward. I know this because I've done this in the past. That's why I know exactly it's a 1/4 inch. And you can actually use one of the lines, this actual line on the SLiPLO, and kind of follow that through to cut all your pieces. And as we move forward, I'll tell you what the little technique is for these end parts, and we could go from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my SLiPLO units into actual shape. The 5th step of the install is gonna be cutting my pieces down to size. Again, as I mentioned, we're gonna cut each unit about a 1/4 inch off of each tooth. And we're gonna use our heavy-duty scissors, which again, you can find a link to this product, which you could purchase off of Amazon on your dealer section of the website. And we're gonna go ahead and start that. When cutting each piece, again, I'm gonna use the line that's there. And don't cut here on the scissor. Pull it back as much as possible. You get a much better leverage and a much better, cleaner cut. And then what I like to do is pull this second teeth back. Once I get a grip on it, I pull this back so the scissor doesn't damage the adhesive there. And boom. 1/4 inch cut. Move on to the next piece. My first piece, and I'm going to continue on to do multiple pieces here. I know from past experience, 1, 2, I believe, let's see here. So if it's, here's my first piece, that will be my second piece. We're gonna use 2 pieces there, and then we're gonna use another, we're gonna do another piece here. So that we're gonna have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces used on the Model 3s. Now that I cut my units down to size, I'm gonna actually, before I apply the SLiPLO to my first portion, I'm gonna actually kind of double check and see placement of it. So I'm gonna get close. I'm gonna leave still a little bit of room. I probably cut a little bit shorter than that. I could have cut a little bit less, but it doesn't matter. It still pretty much will give you protection from the backside and from the side, because the asphalt will just ride on this. Or the driver, once the bumper comes in contact with the actual asphalt, it will just continue to ride on it. So we get perfect protection. I'm gonna do something like that, and that sits pretty flush. You see, there's no more play compared to where there was a lot of play before. You don't have the same play here. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the double-sided adhesive backing. This stuff is super strong, and it will apply really fast as soon as you put it on. Again, don't use too much pressure, just in case if you need to relift it and readjust it, which happens a lot. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my first one from the center point, moving forward. I'm happy with that, it looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and press the front portion down first, using both thumbs, and then apply the back side. Always start from the front, putting pressure in the front, because you have the least amount of adhesive here, so you want that to tack first, and then work the back. First one, perfect. Now, on the next piece, I am not gonna apply this first. I'm gonna first kind of line it up and look. And basically the point here is you have this little ridge on the bumper, as you can see, this little curvature. So what we wanna do is we wanna curve it down like that, okay? But that means I have to actually trim my pieces. And this way you're not gonna get, if you go over this bump here, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have pop-ups and you're gonna have issues. So I highly suggest doing it the way I'm showing you. It's been tested and it works. So the next step in the process, in the installation process, is going to be our vinyl template. And we're going to use this template to check or to mark where we need to cut the SLiPLO unit, because we're going to do a special custom angle here. And we're going to use a template for that specific reason. There's a video in the in the dealer section of our website, which you could, once you logged in, you could watch of how to properly use a vinyl template on a car. But this is a very short version of that, and it's pretty simple. I think you will get it once you see me do it one time. So we're gonna kind of start where the actual other SLiPLO units would start, and we're gonna kind of pull that. All right, and we will continue on. And here is where we need to start curving inwards. So this is where the turn will happen. I'm gonna get my Sharpie, and this is where my cut line is going to be. You can mark the whole thing. Another note on the vinyl template, if you're using multiple vinyl templates to see how many units, and let's say you have a lot of custom work to do or lots of custom cutting, I highly suggest labeling each template. So for example, we're working on the passenger side. This would be template number 1. I would label this number 2, then number 3, and so on. Actually, matter of fact, I'm gonna install this third template so you guys could see how I would go ahead and do it. Generally, I like to actually install the unit and work my third template in, and I think that might be actually a better way to go. So we'll go on that way. Now that I got my template done, another benefit of the template is that we could take this template off. First of all, cut the material off of the car so we're not working here, which is difficult. You can get a scissor in here and all of that stuff. And at the same time, you could mirror it and cut the opposite side exactly the same, so you get the same shape, same look right away. And that's what makes life a lot easier and a lot faster as far as installation goes. So we're gonna go ahead and remove our template, and now we're gonna move on to trimming our SLiPLO unit to piece. Our next step is going to be placing the template on the actual SLiPLO unit, which I'm going to show. Basically, you're going to take this right here, and we're going to kind of line it with that center loop of the actual SLiPLO unit, each individual pieces, and you kind of just want to line that up and kind of move forward. Now, in this case, I have already cut these pieces, so I don't need to align the rest of the SLiPLO template on top of the actual unit. And all I need to do is just cut these 2 pieces into size. The rest are already been cut. Now that I cut the unit, I'm gonna go ahead and show you, I'm gonna test it on the car for myself, and I highly recommend you guys do that, and also for you guys to see why I did this. So, if I'm starting here, that's my center point, and my template comes right here. At this point, I'm gonna start turning it, and I'm gonna get a nice, clean, protective layer, something like so. I'm gonna end it there. That's how I would do the install. We're gonna start with removing the backing. And again, I'm not gonna tack it just in case if I need to move it, but I'm gonna line up. I'm gonna focus on this line really, really well. And I wanna make sure I'm going straight. You don't want it to be at an angle like this or somewhere. So you wanna be nice and straight and barely tap it a little bit and kind of move. Make sure you get it as straight as possible. And gently, piece by piece. If you notice, I'm not pushing down. Even though it sticks really well once you got this promoter on. And here, I'm gonna do my bend. And I wanna kind of make this bend look pretty. As pretty as possible. And I'm happy with this right there. I'm gonna put my bend down, and now that I have it down, I'm happy with it, I'm gonna go ahead and push the front down again. Push the back down. Super tough, super strong. This thing is not coming off. Now that I've cut the template for the passenger side, I'm going to show you guys how to mirror it and cut the, using the vinyl template, cut the other side right to exact same shape. I'm going to take my existing template that I've used, and I'm going to put it on the adhesive backing portion of the SLiPLO unit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you get the idea. And that's gonna help me trim my piece into correct shape. Piece. That's it. Now I got my driver side piece to match my passenger side piece, and we're good to go. I'm continuing on with this exact driver side, which is the same as this. And we're just gonna move quickly forward with this install. So this is actually a pretty good example why a template will come in perfect. So if I would have used the template, even for these two units, I would have got the exact same cut. But because I didn't, and I wanted to make it as quick as possible, even though the protection is there, you'll see I cut this one a little bit longer and I cut this one a little bit shorter. So there's more white showing here. And this is going all the way to the edge. So I highly suggest using a template if you want to. Again, it's not necessarily, you'll never see this part when the car is down and you're still getting the protection, but to do it perfectly, I would suggest using a template all the way through. You get a perfect cut on both sides that matches. Now that I got this piece laid on, I'm gonna go ahead and apply my unit. Now that we got the two units in the center section set, or actually we got all four set, we're gonna move on to our last piece on the passenger side. And I'm gonna show you why I like to install the second piece first before moving on to making the template on the third, rather than making the template all at once. By having this, it allows me to kind of like make my template around the actual unit that's been installed, which I found on this specific vehicle, I get a better finish here. So if, like, let's say I'm gonna cut this a 1/4 inch short, I would like to pull my template up high here, so it kind of like almost starts right around there. So at the point where you get to the last two teeth, we're gonna actually go ahead and start our curvature. I'm gonna end at something like so. The reason that I pull this and curve it down here is because if you notice, let's say we take an actual unit and we start it like that, and you could notice that this specific bumper starts folding up. And you're gonna have this on a lot of bumpers, like I've noticed it on Audis, they have it on all the Tesla 3 and S both do this. So you need to actually pull your SLiPLO unit like that, or if not, it's gonna look like this, which you could totally see it from the side. It's not gonna look good. And at the same time, you're never gonna get damage here from pulling out of a driveway. You might curb this area, but you will not damage it from pulling out a driveway, so it's not recommended doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and lay my vinyl template onto the SLiPLO piece. Now I'm gonna be cutting every unit on this, every teeth. So I'm gonna start from my center, and I'm gonna work this side first and lay down my template. And then I'm gonna move on to the other side and do the same thing. Now that I've cut my last piece for the passenger side down to size, I'm gonna go ahead and install it. And this is the second most critical part, or actually I would say the first critical install. You wanna make sure you did this correctly because there's a lot of curvature here, and if it's not done right, it will not look good and you won't get a clean install. But we'll go ahead and remove our double-sided tape, and we're gonna kind of pull this. We want it close so you get nice coverage there. And we're gonna kind of, actually I'm gonna pull it back a little bit more. And then I'm gonna continue on from there, kind of following my lines. And when I get to this last two teeth, I'm gonna tack this a little bit there, and I'm gonna bend in. I'm gonna bend in like that. That's the critical factor. Press your front in. Work your back. Voila! This side is done. We're gonna move on to the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the entire project by finalizing the last piece install on the driver's side with the same bend. Again, I use the same process, my vinyl template, to cut this piece exactly mirrored to the other side, which looks clean, and it will install clean. And we'll go ahead and remove the backing tape. Follow through. Do your bend, okay. The last two, we're gonna bend in, like so. Push the front. The last step in our installation process is gonna be using a heat gun to actually heat the front of the glue adhesive and push it down one more time. I highly recommend doing this. I've noticed that it makes a big difference, especially for installs where you have this curvature thing going, for the performance of the adhesive. The hot, especially on nice hot days, the adhesive will tack really well. But I still suggest using a nice heat gun, warming the front of the piece, and pushing it in and kind of work it just slowly, like so. That's it, guys. That's the last step of the install, and it's time to bring the car down and pull it outside. Guys, we finished the install, pulled the car out, and here's how SLiPLO looks on a Tesla Model 3. This is the final product. The car is protected, and this driver could pull out of the driveway not worrying about scraping the bottom of his car. If you did like the install video, please do give us a like and hit the subscribe button below, and stay tuned for more installation videos moving forward.